What is up? This is a Witcher lore video by The Witcher George, and this is What Are Sylvans? Sylvan Learning Center.
This moment brought to you by Sylvan Learning Center.
I guess, I don't know. No, he makes great content. He seems to be more of like a Witcher 3 centric channel. I love The Witcher 3. It's the only exposure I've ever had to the Witcher universe in general. I have watched the Netflix series, but yeah, I know a lot of people don't like the Netflix series. I've never read the books. I've never played the first two games. I really do want to play the first two games one day. I think they're remaking the first game, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this is What Are Sylvans, which are like the big gluttonous demon kind of monsters. There's only two, I think, in the game, right? There's the All God, which is the All God, excuse me, in Velen, where you can either like, you can kill him, and I think the peasants get mad if you kill him, and like the peasants go and they seek absolution from the wrath of the gods, like they actually think he's a god or whatever. And then there's the one right before you fight Imlerith and the crones on the is it the Sabbath? Yeah, I think it is the Sabbath. I don't remember any in Hearts of Stone, like the side quests or the main quest. I don't remember any in Blood and Wine. So yeah, I think there's only two that I remember. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is What Are Sylvans by The Witcher George. Let's just check it out.
What? Who dares disturb my divine being?
Geralt of Rivia. Pleasure. Expected the All God to be
Yeah, this is the All God.
but never thought he'd be corpulent. Fattened up nicely at those peasants' expense.
Expense? Expense? Not a word
Expense?
I give in return. Blessings, absolutions, enlightened advice. Believe me, these folks need all of it. I'd watch over them still if they fulfilled their end.
Yeah, it is pretty messed up, the All God. I mean, let me know in the comments, did you guys kill this guy or what? I mean, he's kind of taking advantage of these, the peasants in Velen live a rough life with the war and the monsters and everything, like, man.
Pathetic scraps.
That they steal from the mouths of their children, and to make matters worse, you cast a curse on them.
And I'll not lift it till they bring me worthy offerings. I'm to settle for curds and whey.
That whey protein, bro.
You can tell 'em that.
Welcome to another Witcher lore video. I was considering what video to make today, and then I saw a suggestion from this user and thought to myself that this actually seems like a really fun video to make, as these characters aren't explored massively in the games or the books, so I thought this would actually be really fun to make. Anyway, as I'm sure
So they're
you can tell
rare
by
in the
title,
books, too.
Today's video is going to be on Sylvans.
I guess.
To begin with, it is worth noting.
Yeah, that's
that
right. They
Sylvans
breathe
in the
fire, kind of like a
books are little bit
succubus.
different to Sylvans in The Witcher 3. In The Witcher,
They look like satyrs or something, the mythological goatmans. Every time I think about satyrs, I think of the satyr horns in World of Warcraft, Ashenvale. I don't know why.
they have the appearance of an obese, clumsy creature.
Right.
In the books, they are small and
Hey, Witcher George, don't be fat shaming, bro. He's not fat, he's big bone, dog.
You're not fat. You're big boned.
note that all the other descriptors are there for both versions, such as say the horns or the goat legs, and despite the appearance of the Sylvan in The Witcher 3, they are still extremely agile, so they kept that from the books.
Interesting.
A Sylvan is an
Okay.
extremely rare humanoid species in the Witcher universe. But
Yeah,
Sylvan
see, that's-
is not the only name that these creatures
That's the
are
devil
known
one
by.
right before
For
you go up to
example,
fight the
they have also
crones.
been called Devil, Yaksha, Puka, Diovel, and Willower. They are also known to live in the forests of Broccolon along with the Dryads and Leprechauns, who just about tolerate their presence, as Sylvans can be a little bit difficult to live with. They are also known to live in farming areas. For example, in the Witcher books, one is found by Geralt and Dandelion, whilst they are in the Valley of Flowers. They mainly go to fertile farming areas, simply because of the large quantities of
So he said they're rare in the books too, and they found one in the Valley of Flowers, I believe he said. Yeah, they're kind of like pests and like they're kind of like wild boars, you know. but maybe they help with seed dispersal or something. I don't know. Maybe there's a mutual benefit between like farmers and them or something. They help spread the crops better. I don't know. Maybe they act as scarecrows against like birds and stuff.
There, as Sylvans really like their food. Sylvans are known to be able to speak both.
It shows.
It was at this moment that he knew.
Hey, Witcher George, don't be fat shaming, bro.
And elder speech, showing their clear intelligence over a lot of other creatures in the Witch universe. As for their lifespan, Sylvans on average live more than 100 years, which is quite old.
That is quite old, yeah.
Humans on average, probably in the Witch universe, might live till they're about 70 or 80, maybe even less. In general, Sylvans are
probably a lot less than Velen, let's be real.
Threat to humans and are normally considered harmless. They play tricks, pranks, and love riddles. They can also be helpful as they fertilize fields and scare birds away, and they also watch over crops and eat caterpillars. So they're not.
See, I just said that. I just said that they can act as like a seed dispersal system kind of thing, you know, like a lot of herbivores are within the real world. And it said they scare off birds, which that is interesting. So I think he said this was in the books though. So there's a mutual benefit to Sylvans in the books with the lore. So that is interesting. It's also interesting how, he said they like to play tricks, which, you know, you see with the All God. Godlings are kind of like that as well. So even though they're like probably vastly different creatures, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of weird. Relics is always a weird one, because I always wondered if relics, like the lore of the actual monsters themselves, or whatever you want to call it, monsters, whatever. I wonder if they're like subspecies of things, like, you know, because I always thought Sylvans and Godlings were kind of alike in a lot of ways, but they're just different. Like they're different subspecies, kind of like an eagle versus like an owl or something like that, right? An elephant and a rhino. They're different, but there's similarities. I don't know. It's kind of interesting if you think about it like that.
They do actually help out occasionally, be it willingly or just by instinct. Sylvans always value a peaceful resolution when they're caught, and they dislike bloodshed. All of the information I just
besides
stated
the one,
applies to
besides that
from
one,
the books and The Witcher 3. But for this next bit of information, I'm going to discuss what has been added to these creatures in The Witcher 3. As in The Witcher 3, with Sylvans, CD Projekt Red have gone about it in a pretty clever way. They haven't really changed the original lore that much. They've just expanded upon it and kind of made their own interpretation of the descriptions, which is pretty cool. So in The Witcher 3,
yeah, like what's that saying? Great artist copy, or good artist copy, great artist steal. Good for you, CD Projekt.
Depicted as obese and lazy by nature. If they had it their way, they would gladly spend all day, every day, relaxing, be that by consuming large amounts of food or drinking strong drinks. Similar to the books,
can you blame them?
Sylvans most enjoy taking whatever people have earned or worked for. For example, demanding free food, without ever doing anything in return. Because unlike in the books, in The Witcher 3, Sylvans don't really do anything for humans. They don't even do any of the eating caterpillars or watching over crops or anything. They just kind of like to gorge themselves.
Okay, so yeah, in the games they're kind of, I mean, they're not really expanded upon in the games. It sounds like in the books they're slightly more expanded upon, which isn't really surprising, because yeah, you only experience 2 in the game, so I don't know. You kind of, it is what it is. What you see is what you get, kind of thing with them.
Their habit of taking what doesn't belong to them does get them in trouble, and this sometimes can result in angry humans trying to get rid of the Sylvans by force. This generally does not end well for the humans involved, as Sylvans, despite their appearance, are extremely agile and strong. The Sylvans
and they use fire spells
are also said to smell very unpleasant, causing
kind of like succubuses
to gag or faint. As for their combat, as said before, Sylvans are very strong and agile, so attempting to parry their blows or
I think he says they stink, which I mean isn't really surprising. But
combat is difficult. It is best to try and avoid their melee attack and instead trap them with Iridan, or alternatively attempt to deal damage with Igni or get a few strikes in with Quen activated. Also,
yeah, you can with the All God, something that's really easy to do. I mean, not that The Witcher 3 is even necessarily that hard of a game, even on Death March. It is hard early on, kind of, but something I always like to do with the All God is you can use the poison bombs, and you can trap them in a Yrden, and you can kind of just spam poison bombs. The way the Sylvan AI works in The Witcher 3, they don't really move around too much. They will move out of your poison, but if they're caught in a Yrden, you can kind of just sit in the poison, and then you can just fire a crossbow at them, and it basically just melts them, and you can just come in and take a couple pot shots with your sword here and there, you know.
Aware of their ability to breathe flames, which is also known to melt armor, and also, of course, bombs and a crossbow are good to avoid their melee skill.
Right.
An interesting side note,
I just
their
said that.
ability to
Yeah.
breathe fire is not present in the books and is a complete game invention. As for the class of these creatures are classed as relics.
Relics,
and
yeah.
relics as a class is quite vague, and it includes a lot of monsters that just kind of don't really have a place anywhere else.
Right.
For example, the Caretaker's classed as a relic, as are
Right.
fiends and godlings, but they're all very different creatures.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, relic means something of a long past thing, right? Like, I don't know, long past bygone generation, right? I don't know. I always wondered if, like, relics are something like a divulgence from humanity within, like, a demonic sense that kind of just became their own species. What I just said, I don't even know if it makes sense, but yeah, relics, they're all kind of like, a lot of them are vaguely humanoid. Even Chorts and stuff are kind of like weird, twisted abominations that look somewhat humanoid in a lot of ways, which, I don't know. I always wondered if there was something about relics, maybe that they were like the, maybe they were like the precursors to modern humans that we see in the Witcher universe. Like a divulgence, kind of like Neanderthals, our Neanderthals or something, right? Because they all do look like humanoid to some degree.
Creatures are also particularly vulnerable to Samum, Devil's Puffball, Igni, and Relic Oil.
Right.
Because obviously, being classed as a relic, they would be affected by Relic Oil. And another interesting fact is that in the Witcher games, they only ever seem to appear in Velen. We never see them in Skellige, Toussaint, or Kaer Morhen. Another important fact to know about...
So there's only 2 in Velen, yeah. It's kind of crazy there's only 2 in the entire game.
Sylvans is that they won't just cooperate with only humans. For example, I mentioned earlier about
the
how they'll
crookback
watch over
bogs,
crops
the
for
witches.
humans and fertilized fields, but they'll also work for other intelligent entities, such as the crones. Because you may remember that Fugus, who is a Sylvan from Witcher 3,
that's his
acted as a
name.
guardian at the Bald Mountain Caves for the crones. So from that, we can see that Sylvans are willing to work with anyone that helps them with their goals. I
Right.
suppose there's the possibility that the crones forced him to be their guardian, but it didn't really seem that way. As for their appearance, they appear to resemble a human with goat horns, along with hairy legs and hooves. They also have tails. In The Witcher 3, obviously they're depicted as obese and clumsy, as I said before, and in the books they're small and nimble. That's the key major differences between their appearance in the books and games. But an interesting point to note is that Sylvans do appear to differ in appearance quite majorly sometimes. For example, if you look at the difference between Allgod and Fugus,
Yeah, it's
they
pretty
both possess similar
drastic.
characteristics, but equally look very different. I mean, look at the difference in their skin
Yeah,
color
with
and their appearance.
with Fugus, I believe if I remember right, there's a misspelling. There's the quest in Skellige where there's the godling and the werewolf, and they all try to jump you, and you can talk about, like, you know, monsters you spared or whatever. I can't remember the quest name. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. There's actually like a typo where I think they says Fargus or something instead of Fugus. I don't know. That totally just a little rant, but
There's definitely differences within this species. Maybe they're just not classified yet.
Maybe they're
Notable
subsets,
Sylvans
yeah.
include Torque, Allgod, and Fugus, and there isn't actually any other Sylvans mentioned in the games or the books, so these are the main ones. And
he said Talk, Allgod, and Fugus. I do not remember Talk. Talk? T-A-L-C? T-A-L-K? I don't know. Or T-A-U-K? I don't know. I do not remember. I think he said Talk. Let me see.
There's definitely differences within this species.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just not classified yet. Notable Sylvans include Torque, Allgod, and Fugus.
Yeah.
And there isn't actually any other
Talk, I don't remember Talk, so maybe he'll go into it.
Sylvans mentioned in the games or the books, so these are the main ones.
Right.
And I'll do a video on each of them in the future, most likely. Finally, to end today's video,
I don't remember Talk.
their bestiary entry. Sylvans are cruel, greedy, and treacherous. Still, I prefer them to Dwan. Yavin, legendary Scoia'tael commander. Sylvans and Yakshas, a kindred species, are extremely rare woodland creatures whose appearance combines traits of goats and rotund men. These beings usually pose little danger, for they limit their contact with humans to playing harmless, though often bothersome, tricks and eating crops from their fields. So yeah, Sylvans in The Witcher 3 do all the things that Sylvans in the books do, just to a little bit of a lesser extent, as obviously they're quite big and they don't really blend in all that well. Anyway guys, that's the end of today's video. I hope you've all enjoyed. Today's video has been really fun to make. I feel like Sylvans are a really interesting creature, but in The Witcher 3 as well, as we don't meet that many of them and we don't really see all that many of them, but they all have their own unique personality.
Yeah, so I got an ad there. I'll just cut it off there. But yeah, that was a really good video. I don't remember Talk. Maybe he was just mentioned in The Witcher 3, because I've played through The Witcher 3, I think 3 times, and did all the side quests twice on 2 of those playthroughs. And I don't remember Talk, so I don't know. That was a really good video, though. He makes really good content, Witcher George. Check him out. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. I'm new to all this reaction stuff. I don't know. No one's probably even gonna watch these videos anyway, but I just love these games. They mean the world to me, and if I can like kind of just give my opinion or whatever, that's kind of the whole goal of this. I'm kind of all over the place with this channel, so if anyone's out there, and I'm just gonna go hard on the reaction stuff, with no games in particular. But I really do like this guy's content, and I'll be reacting to more of stuff because, I mean, I love The Witcher 3. It's my favorite game, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, Sylvans definitely are one of the most interesting creatures in The Witcher 3. I always thought there was gonna be more, but yeah, it is what it is. You see 2, and what you see is basically what you get with them. It is kind of, it's kind of like like a trickster, like a kind of like mythological sense of like what a coyote would be in Native American like folklore. Yeah, I don't know. They're very interesting. All the relics are very interesting. I like all of them. I like succubuses, and maybe he probably has other videos about all the other lore. I love some lore, brah. So I don't know. Thank you for watching. I'm totally ranting. I'll see you in the next one.